My best friend Lynn was obsessed with domineering CEO dramas. She wanted her daughter to be a soft, adorable little white flower heroine, so she only fed her fresh milk, dairy products, and even bathed her in milk. Lynn claimed only a fragrant, soft, little white flower could capture a CEO's heart. She even boasted to me that her daughter's blood and urine smelled faintly of milk. Having read countless rebirth novels over the years, I knew the consequences of meddling, so I just let her be. I never imagined that one day, opening my front door, I'd find her daughter, Suzie, in a flimsy slip dress, gazing intently at my son and asking, "Brother, why don't you dare look at me?" Just after a meeting, I received a text from my husband. Lynn brought Suzie over again. My alarm bells instantly rang. Suzie, Lynn's daughter and my best friend's child, was barely 3 months younger than my son. Yet she was so thin and frail, a whole head shorter than him. It wasn't due to malnutrition, but Lynn's complete immersion in those domineering CEO novels. After Suzie's birth, Lynn became convinced she could raise her to be the pure, lovable, little white flower heroine from those stories, destined to attract wealthy CEOs. She named her daughter Suzie, claiming such a name perfectly suited the soft, weak female leads in CEO dramas. When Suzie first started speaking, her first word was cuddle. Lynn joyfully declared, "Only by learning to act cute can a CEO's heart be melted." When Suzie was 5, Lynn enrolled her in ballet. Watching her daughter's graceful movements, Lynn nodded, "Only a soft body can make a CEO fall in love at first sight." At 7, Lynn used fresh milk daily to nourish Suzie's skin. Only skin as white and smooth as water can make a CEO love her so much they'll never let go. Lynn insisted. By the time Suzie was 10, hitting puberty, Lynn began strictly controlling her diet. Snacks, junk food, spicy, stimulating dishes all were forbidden. If Suzie was thirsty, she drank milk. If hungry, she ate fruit salad. I looked at Suzie's thin, pale frame and couldn't help but say, "Children need to eat properly to grow. She'll become malnourished?" To my surprise, Lynn's voice suddenly rang out from behind me. "You just don't understand. This only makes my daughter's aura more prominent. Her skin is as smooth and white as milk, and even her body scent has a faint milky aroma. A gentle, adorable little fairy like my daughter, who knows how many rich young masters she'll enchant when she grows up." I quickly covered my mouth, apologizing to Lynn. "You're right, Lynn," I said. "I've read rebirth novels for years. I understand that sincere advice often leads to terrible results. One wrong word can easily create a mortal enemy." So, I chose to respect her choices. I advised my son to keep his distance from Suzie, but I couldn't stop Lynn from bringing her daughter to our house every few days. I rushed home. The moment I pushed the door open, I saw Suzie in that flimsy slip dress again, gazing with shimmering, almost flirtatious eyes at my son. "Brother, why don't you dare look at me?" she asked. I was instantly horrified. Just as I was about to step forward and intervene, my son, Mark, engrossed in his game, looked up and scoffed. "Why would I look at you? You're not even pretty." Suzie's big, sparkling eyes immediately welled up with tears. I grabbed my son by the ear, fuming. "Mark, what kind of talk is that?" To my surprise, Lynn's calm voice echoed from behind me. "Oh, don't scold Mark anymore. Boys this age often say the opposite of what they feel. Deep down, he's already captivated by our adorable little girl." I nearly jumped out of my skin. I hadn't even noticed Lynn had gone upstairs. Lynn gently approached my son, smiling subtly as she asked, "Are you only saying that because you're shy?" My son, though he didn't quite grasp the meaning of shy, stubbornly shook his head. "I'm not shy." Lynn then looked at Suzie with a knowing glance. "Auntie understands. He's just bewitched by Suzie's cuteness. He'll understand when he grows up. He won't be able to control himself from being drawn to her." My son looked bewildered, then angrily blurted out, "Auntie, I've made myself very clear. Suzie isn't pretty at all and I don't want to play with her." With that, he stormed off in a huff. I quickly tried to smooth things over. "Lynn, the kids are still young." But Lynn just covered her mouth, laughing even more delightedly. "I get it. This is just the typical arrogant childhood sweetheart trope. The male lead always says the opposite of what he feels to the one he likes. The angst first, pampering later, chasing after his wife until he's fuming storyline is the most captivating. I'm so looking forward to it." I was utterly speechless. The next day after school, Lynn insisted on dragging my son to the mall. My son really didn't want to go with Suzie, but he couldn't resist the temptation of the play area, so Lynn half-pushed, half-dragged him along. At the play area, Lynn was adamant that my son and Suzie ride the carousel together. Suzie sat in front, my son behind her. As the carousel spun, Suzie leaned into my son's lap. My foolish son, however, was only interested in shouting loudly, "Faster, faster." After they got off, Lynn deliberately asked my son, "Does Suzie smell nice? Is she soft to hug?" My son, ever so blunt, replied, "Suzie just farted and it was super stinky. If you don't have money, let my mom treat you. I'm never playing with someone who farts again." Lynn's face froze. What nonsense is this boy spouting? A little fairy like Suzie, even her farts should smell like milk. When she's shy, her whole body turns a lovely pink. He's just a clueless straight guy who doesn't appreciate beauty. He doesn't know what he's missed. That evening, Lynn took the children to a fast food restaurant. My son and I were eating hamburgers when I looked up and saw that Lynn had removed all the meat and bread from Suzie's hamburger, leaving only a few slices of vegetables. Suzie was meticulously licking a cupcake, her overly dainty movements making me uncomfortable to watch. Seeing my son's gaze linger on Suzie, Lynn immediately beamed. "Mark, do you feel your heart racing, your whole body heating up?" I frowned. Mark was only 10, he was still a child. How could she say such things? Lynn then pushed the cupcake Suzie had been licking towards my son, tempting him. "Want a taste?" I was about to intervene when my son abruptly recoiled. "Auntie, Suzie eats so gross, I saw her suck on the ice cream and then spit it out. Get away, get away. I'm not eating anything she spat out. It's totally disgusting." This time, Lynn's face completely darkened. She pointed at my son and snapped, "You blind straight guy. You've made Suzie so sad. Later, when countless CEOs are fighting over her, you won't even have a chance to pursue her." I couldn't hold back my anger any longer. "Lynn, Mark is still a child. Please stop forcing these ridiculous ideas on him," Lynn immediately retorted. "All boys are born to like gentle, adorable girls. I'm just letting the children learn to follow their hearts. If you truly love your son, you should let him pursue his inner desires. What's this like and dislike nonsense? It'll just suppress a child's true nature and make them miserable. You're ruining his life." I was stunned by her bizarre logic. Right in front of her, I turned to my son and asked him seriously, "Mark, do you like playing with Suzie? Tell me the truth." This time, I don't care about Suzie's self-respect, since her mother and she clearly don't know how to respect others. Mark frowned and said, "Mom, Suzie is just weird. I tried to get her to play games, but she wouldn't. She just wanted me to watch her wiggle her butt. Last time, I accidentally saw her not wearing any underwear, and it was so disgusting I couldn't eat all day." It was then that I realized how deep the problem ran, definitely influenced by Lynn. I absolutely couldn't let Mark be entangled with that mother and daughter anymore. "Lynn, we don't care how you raise your child, but please stop targeting my Mark. He's just a normal kid, not a supporting character in your CEO drama. Goodbye." When I got home, I recounted everything to my husband. He was so disgusted he couldn't even eat dinner. Frowning, he called Lynn's husband and spoke for half an hour. Finally, he told me that Lynn's family wouldn't be bothering us anymore. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. The next time I went to pick up my son, I saw Lynn. She had a large bruise on her face. While I despised domestic violence for someone like her, it felt like she was simply reaping what she sowed, no loss to anyone. After a period of calm, I finally felt at ease letting my son take the school bus home by himself. But one evening, it was already pitch black, and my son still hadn't returned. My worry grew frantic as I repeatedly called his GPS watch. The call connected, but it was Lynn's voice that answered. "Hannah, it's the children's destiny. We adults shouldn't interfere anymore. Let them develop naturally." My heart sank. I demanded, "What have you done? Where have you taken my son?" Lynn chuckled lightly. "The male and female leads are still missing some romantic memories. I had someone take them to an abandoned amusement park on the outskirts of town. Only in such a desolate, lonely place, relying on each other to survive, will Mark truly understand how important Suzie is to him. Once he realizes Suzie's place in his heart, he won't say things that hurt her anymore." I was so angry I couldn't control myself. "Lynn, you're insane. Are you trying to push 2 children to their deaths?" Lynn, unperturbed, said, "Oh, come on, my dear friend. Once Mark has thought things through, I hope you won't use your worldly eyes to stop them anymore. Your son's time to monopolize Suzie won't last long. Soon enough, all the rich young masters will discover this delicate, little white flower named Suzie." The police searched the abandoned amusement park for 3 days straight. Just as I was about to despair, the police received a report. The 2 children had found their way to the police station themselves. It was my son, Mark, and Suzie. At the police station, I hugged my son, who was thin and haggard, sobbing uncontrollably. Lynn, however, was beside herself with excitement. Your destiny with Suzie is now even deeper. In the future, when you recall this time, you'll surely remember those nights warming each other under the old Ferris wheel, with Suzie gently nestled in your arms and you gazing at the stars, kissing away her tears. Oh, what a destined feeling. I was trembling with fury. Can you please stop fabricating your CEO stories? How many times do I have to say it? No one considers your daughter a treasure except you. Mark also said, disgusted, Mom, Suzie isn't just clumsy, she also has no sense of direction. She couldn't even find the exit of the amusement park. If it weren't for this burden, I would have found my way out much sooner. Lynn, hearing this, became even more triumphant. Sweetly foolish is the most adorable. A domineering CEO and an innocent, little white flower are the perfect match. He criticizes with his mouth, but he protects Suzie fiercely. Mark, you really love her, don't you? It was utterly absurd. I provided a detailed account of the children's disappearance to the police. Lynn was asked to cooperate with further investigation. Several peaceful years passed, and in the blink of an eye, my son was in high school. The terrible news was that Lynn had spent a fortune to get Suzie into the same school. My husband said Suzie's literacy was now worse than an elementary school student's. This was partly because Lynn deliberately cultivated the image of a foolish beauty for her, and partly because Suzie's severe malnutrition during puberty had genuinely stunted her intellectual development compared to her peers. At 15, Suzie was only 1.45 meters tall, thin and pale. I heard Lynn, wanting to maintain Suzie's pitiable appearance, now didn't even allow her to eat vegetables. Young as she was, Suzie's hair was dry and yellow, her eyebrows and eyelashes sparse and light-colored. On the first day of school, Lynn immediately began her search for a new male lead for Suzie. She finally targeted the owner of a Ferrari parked nearby. I, as the school's dean of academic affairs, was reprimanding the rich playboy Dylan when I heard Lynn excitedly say, "Oh, the domineering prince and the pure school queen. I can already imagine how spectacular it will be when Suzie conquers him. Sweet, doting rich family romance is true love." I sneered inwardly. Did she really think real-life rich young masters were like those in her domineering CEO dramas? That a dissolute playboy would genuinely fall for a sweetly foolish girl after a few coy provocations? Absurd. This young master right in front of me lived a wild life, loved flaunting his wealth, and was obsessed with racing and chasing girls. Not only was he foul-mouthed, but he despised girls who pretended to be innocent the most. He was the epitome of every bad habit. In society, he'd undoubtedly be a notorious wastrel. Only someone like Lynn, whose brain was muddled from reading too many romance novels, would find him appealing. Having chosen to respect others' choices, I decided not to interfere anymore, only to spend more time monitoring the surveillance cameras. I saw sweetly foolish Suzie deliberately bump into Dylan as she descended the stairs, looking at him pitifully with tear-filled eyes. Dylan cursed and grabbed Suzie's collar. "Damn it, you've dirtied my limited edition jacket." Seeing the situation turn ugly, I rushed out to intervene. "Dylan, stop. If you lay another hand on her, I'll call your father to school." Dylan reluctantly let go, gritting his teeth and pointing at Suzie. "Idiot, just you wait." Suzie, however, blushed shyly. Unexpectedly that evening after work, Lynn angrily called me. "Aren't you just jealous my daughter caught the prince's eye? Clearly, my daughter was already creating sparks with the prince today, but you just love to meddle. Let me tell you, if you want to fight for Suzie for your son now, it's too late." Her words stunned me. I had no idea how to respond. I replied sternly, "I am the dean. This is a case of school bullying. If I hadn't appeared, Suzie would have been bullied by Dylan." "Would you be happy then?" Lynn retorted. "What do you know? How can a cold, domineering prince become gentle and caring if he's not repeatedly influenced by an innocent, kind, little white flower? If your old-fashioned mind had supported early romance sooner, there wouldn't be so many bullying incidents. They would all be redeemed by love." I resolutely hung up. Suzie had barely read any proper books since childhood. Her mind was entirely filled with the silly romance stories her mother had stuffed into her head. She began enacting her own romance heroine script. One evening during self-study, Suzie secretly waited by the parking lot for Dylan to return after skipping class for a nightclub. She wore a white dress, holding a cup of milk tea, looking like a little girlfriend waiting for her boyfriend. Seeing his beloved Ferrari pull into its spot, Suzie awkwardly tried to greet him. The moment Dylan saw her, he exploded. "What is this stupid girl doing here? Get lost." unexpectedly the next second a guard's flashlight shone on them. The patrolling teacher had caught Dylan returning late. Dylan angrily cursed. "Damn it, do you have water on your brain? You deliberately wore this flashy dress, wandering around and getting me caught. You just wait." Suzie could only cry, biting her lip, and offered the milk tea. "I was worried you'd be hungry tonight, so I thought I'd wait for you to come back and give you milk tea. I'm just a little foolish, I don't understand much." Suzie remembered her mother's words. Men love innocent and pure girls the most. If she occasionally made a small mistake, men would forgive her because she was devoted to them. Her coquettish tone and gaze made Dylan nauseous. He snatched the cup of milk tea and splashed it directly in her face. "Idiot, you just wait for me, this isn't over." Dylan was about to get physical when teachers rushed over in time to stop him. Although he didn't injure Suzie, his act of splashing milk tea constituted school bullying and had to be dealt with severely. When Lynn arrived at school, her whole body was trembling with excitement. The Playboy prince finally couldn't help but act against the little white flower. Seeing Dylan beaten black and blue by his father, Lynn covered her face and softly gasped. "This appearance is truly that of a strong, deep, handsome male lead?" I cleared my throat. "Her child was beaten like this. Shouldn't you demand justice for him?" Lynn smiled with a serene expression. "Spare the rod, spoil the child. Conquering such a Playboy prince isn't easy. How can love be etched into the heart without experiencing suffering?" Lynn insisted on settling the matter privately, but Dylan had violated school rules multiple times, and the school ultimately had no choice but to expel him. This time, Lynn panicked, saying heartbrokenly, "It was just temporary impulsiveness, not a character flaw. Perhaps Suzie was just one step away from melting his heart, and you people pushed him into an abyss." I rolled my eyes sarcastically. "What abyss? Don't be so dramatic. The Chen family has tens of billions in assets. Do they need your daughter to save them? Go home now, don't waste the school's time anymore." These words left Lynn speechless. Not long after Dylan left the school, Lynn found a new target for Suzie during a parent-teacher conference. It was Kevin, the school's academic ace and hot boy. The ice-cold male god wasn't always unattainable. "When you melt his heart and make him utterly obsessed with you, that's when he'll be most charming," Lynn whispered into Suzie's ear. After the conference ended, Lynn, as if nothing had happened, struck up a conversation with Kevin's mother. Kevin's mother wore an ordinary floral dress and spoke with a thick local accent. Seeing a fashionably dressed, seemingly wealthy woman talk to her, she naturally felt flattered but also a little intimidated. After some time, the two families became friends. Lynn looked at the elegant and handsome Kevin with a gentle expression. "Kevin, would you be able to come to Auntie's house to tutor Suzie? Auntie will pay for your tutoring." Kevin's mother quickly waved her hand. "Suzie's mother, why are you so formal? No need for money, tutoring is nothing, it's just a small matter." Listening from the side, Hannah immediately knew what Lynn was up to again. Kevin was a brilliant student, a potential candidate for top universities like Tsinghua and Peking University, and a key focus for our teachers. I couldn't let Lynn ruin him. A few days later, using the excuse of a home visit, I went to Kevin's house. I subtly hinted that it wasn't very safe for children to go alone to others' houses for tutoring. Kevin's mother's face immediately fell. It turns out Suzie's mother was right. You're a teacher, yet you don't want to see students help each other. I think having a teacher like you is the biggest danger for children. She unceremoniously kicked me out. Lynn must have said something about me behind my back. Back home, I heard my son on the phone, his expression serious. Then, a weak voice of a teenager came through the receiver. "Suzie gave me a glass of fruit juice. After drinking it, I felt my whole body getting hot. Now I'm hiding in her bathroom. Can you ask the teacher to help me?" It was Kevin. My heart stopped. Just as I was about to take my son's phone to ask for details, I heard frantic knocking at the door and Lynn's urgent voice. "Kevin, open the door quickly so Suzie can massage you. You won't feel uncomfortable anymore. It'll be very relaxing. If you don't open the door, Auntie will come in." Immediately after, the phone fell into the toilet, leaving only the sound of rushing water and electrical static. I instantly screamed at my son to call the police. "Something's happened to Kevin." Before the police could break down the door, Kevin's mother was still yelling at me. "Is this teacher crazy? My son is just playing at a friend's house normally, and you insist on calling the police. What could possibly happen at a friend's house?" Her words were cut short as the door was kicked open. There stood Kevin, clothes disheveled and tied to a chair, his face flushed scarlet. Kevin's mother was stunned. "Kevin, what is this?" Kevin's face was filled with humiliation. They put something in my drink. Kevin's mother heard this and her whole body went numb. At the police station, Lynn spoke with a calm expression. We kindly invited Kevin to our house to play. Who knew he would try to mess with my daughter? We had to take measures to stop him. Is that wrong? Kevin's mother, a simple countrywoman, trembled with anger. What nonsense are you talking about? My son is a decent person. How could he do such a thing? Lynn's face was filled with contempt. It's not strange that my beautiful daughter drives people crazy. Kevin's mother stamped her foot in anger. My son has been an excellent student with good character since childhood. He wouldn't do such a dirty thing. Lynn also began to argue back. Another old-fashioned person who considers nascent teenage feelings dirty. Let me tell you, at this age, it's perfectly normal for boys to have feelings for the prettiest girl. Amidst their incessant arguing, a police officer entered, holding a laboratory report. A banned substance was found in the fruit juice Kevin drank. Ms. Lynn, please cooperate with the investigation. Kevin's mother collapsed on the spot after hearing this result. How could I have been so foolish? Ms. Hannah had reminded me, but I didn't pay attention, and I let my son get drugged. Kevin truly suffered immense psychological damage. After being hospitalized for several days and returning to school, his academic performance plummeted uncontrollably. A promising student who once hoped to get into a prestigious university now saw his spirits increasingly low. The teachers in his grade-level team were all utterly indignant after learning of the incident. I had already heard students say that Suzie often snuck into the boys' changing room to peek at others changing clothes. If left unchecked, who knows what else would happen. After deliberation, I decided to suggest Suzie take a temporary leave of absence. While Lynn was in temporary detention, this matter could only be discussed with her husband. He was already very troubled by his wife and daughter's behavior and immediately agreed for Suzie to leave school. After Lynn was released from temporary detention, she was furious. She ran to the school gates, hanging protest banners that screamed, "Student 123 Kevin defiled my daughter. Dean Hannah covers for the abuser." This act immediately drew widespread public attention. Many netizens, unaware of the truth, began fiercely attacking Kevin and me. Is there no law in schools anymore? The hooligan who bullied a female student gets to stay, while the victimized girl is forced to leave. What kind of school? What kind of dean? This is aiding the enemy. Give justice back to the victimized student, or we won't let this teacher off the hook. I looked at the rampant comments online, feeling a mix of laughter and tears, and decided to respond using my personal account. What if the person you call a victim is actually the perpetrator? The next second, my phone vibrated madly. The victim? Isn't that the girl you're covering for? The truth isn't distorted like you claim. How dare this dean argue? Be careful, or we'll literally mince your whole family. Clearly, the netizens didn't understand my implied meaning. I had no choice but to say, perhaps it's time for the truth of the matter to be brought to light. The online wave grew even more intense. Mother of high society love, don't be afraid. Let your daughter bravely stand up. We all support you both. They're bullying you because you're weak. If you dare to speak up, they'll be finished. Lynn, seeing the overwhelming online support for her, became utterly triumphant and oblivious, and had Suzie record a video specifically naming Kevin. In the video, Suzie cried tears like rain, but the sentiment in the comment section immediately reversed. Turns out it's a perverted girl harassing a classmate. This girl is so ugly, and she claims she was harassed, who would even pay attention to her? And so on, I understood. So the victim the dean mentioned was a girl. Don't jump to conclusions. Perhaps the matter isn't so simple. On my personal account, I then published the police's case acceptance notice, explaining in detail how Lynn had used the excuse of inviting Kevin over and put drugs in his drink with malicious intent. Netizens were extremely surprised. Some curious individuals dug up Lynn's past social media posts, revealing how she aimed to transform Suzie into a rich young lady from an idol drama. Is this mom too addicted to dramas? Real-life rich young masters fundamentally won't like girls who pretend to be innocent and cute like your daughter. Your daughter looks malnourished. Her skin is deathly pale. I suggest she gets checked at the hospital to see if her psychological state is normal. Does she need to see a psychologist? Lynn furiously entered the comment section, refuting each person one by one. I specifically want to raise my daughter to be the universally beloved female lead in idol dramas. How can they not like this type? What do you people know about wellness? My daughter eats only high-end nutritious food, Not like you people eating all that junk food. Worry about yourselves. My daughter naturally knows what she wants because only perfect people deserve true love. The netizens' ridicule became even fiercer. Lynn was so thoroughly attacked online that she no longer had the energy to cause trouble at school. The next time I saw Lynn was on New Year's Eve that year. Although the relationship between our two families was strained, as neighbors in the countryside, we still had to maintain a superficial harmony. At the dinner table, my mother-in-law gossiped about our neighbors. That Shen Yuan boy next door is truly ambitious. He opened a company in the big city and became a CEO, earning hundreds of millions a year, and he's handsome too. She then sighed. It's just a shame he's still single. I hear he's very picky about wives. Sure enough, Lynn's eyes lit up. I heard her excitedly exclaim, "The domineering CEO, Suzie's destined soulmate, is finally about to appear, isn't he?" Lynn eagerly inquired about Shen Yuan's return date. My mother-in-law, though her face was full of confusion, replied, "He'll be here tomorrow. Why are you so interested in other people's family matters?" Lynn just smiled, saying nothing. Early the next morning, Lynn was already sitting by the door, waiting. I stood behind her, casually eating melon seeds. Until the roar of a car echoed from the village entrance, Lynn stood up, excitedly declaring, "Truly worthy of a CEO, driving a luxury car back home, even the horn sounds so majestic." The black luxury car stopped next door. First to emerge were long legs in tailored trousers. Handmade leather shoes reflected the sunlight, revealing a glimpse of a slender ankle. Lynn excitedly flailed her arms and legs. "Oh my God, those legs are definitely CEO standard." The next second, the man bent down from the driver's seat, walked around to the back door, and opened it for someone else. Lynn's face froze. "It must be the driver," she muttered. "After all, how could someone of high status drive themselves?" She looked expectantly towards the back door. The car door opened, and a middle-aged man with gold-rimmed glasses, a round figure, and not very tall stepped out. This. Lynn's face was filled with disappointment and disgust. In Lynn's imagination, all successful people had to be like those in idol dramas. Handsome, dashing, not only good-looking but also capable, and most importantly, loyal. But in reality, how many perfect scripts like that truly exist? The next day, CEO Shen came to visit our family. Lynn deliberately called Suzie over. "Suzie, pour Uncle Shen some tea." Suzie, head bowed obediently, approached Shen Yuan. As she poured the tea, she deliberately exposed a section of her pale wrist, her eyes darting coyly, but Shen Yuan remained utterly unresponsive. Lynn was so angry she stamped her foot. The rich young lady she had painstakingly cultivated couldn't even move a successful man. Suzie was the perfect female lead Lynn had groomed for over a decade. She couldn't accept this outcome. That night, taking advantage of everyone being fast asleep, she secretly brought Suzie into a drunk Shen Yuan's room. A scream echoed from the room next door. The villagers, thinking something terrible had happened, ran to the Shen family home, carrying weapons. When I rushed into the courtyard, Lynn was sitting on the ground, crying and making a scene. "It must be because my daughter is too beautiful, right? Everyone wants to take advantage of her. If you touch my daughter, you must take responsibility." Mrs. Shen, seeing me, quickly explained, "Ms. Hannah, please talk some sense into your Aunt Lynn. My brother-in-law was drunk and sleeping alone. I don't know how your niece ended up in his bed. Besides, my brother-in-law already has a girlfriend." Unexpectedly, Lynn frowned upon hearing this. "He has a girlfriend? Why would he be such a casual man? Oh, never mind." At this point, Shen Yuan, who had been silent, finally couldn't hold back anymore. "Domineering CEO? What nonsense. I already have someone in my heart, and my girlfriend and I are holding our engagement ceremony soon." Shen Yuan said this with an expression of clear helplessness. This expression, ironically, bore some resemblance to Suzie's. Lynn was thunderstruck by his words. "Impossible. A successful man like you choosing a girl from an ordinary family. In my opinion, a CEO like you should find a lady from a well-matched family. How can you casually pick a commoner girl?" Shen Yuan frowned, his tone turning cold. "In my opinion, a person's character is far more important than their family background. On the other hand, a daughter like yours," he gave Suzie a cold glance, "truly makes one dare not praise. Reality isn't like those cheesy dramas." My mother-in-law, though she didn't fully understand those fanciful novels, grasped Lynn's intentions. She grabbed her cane and chased them out. "How dare you have such intentions? Get out now. Don't let me see you mother and daughter again." And so, Lynn and Suzie were swept out the door by my mother-in-law on New Year's Day. Closing the door, my mother-in-law sighed. She was originally a good girl. It's such a pity she was raised like this by her mother. I could see my mother-in-law's face was pale with anger, but I didn't bring up how Lynn had previously targeted my son's classmate. After the new year, Kevin plunged into intense university entrance exam preparations. With my continuous counseling, he gradually emerged from his psychological trauma, and his academic performance returned to normal. On the day the university entrance exams ended, the classmates arranged to have dinner at a nearby restaurant. My son and Kevin suddenly lost contact. Their homeroom teacher was sweating with worry. They said they were going downstairs to buy some drinks, but their phones are unreachable and no one is replying to messages. My heart sank. I immediately thought of Lynn. I quickly said, "Teacher, don't worry. I'll call the police right away. Please accompany me and another teacher to check the surveillance cameras." The cameras showed that after buying their drinks, the two boys were forced into a van by masked individuals. We tracked the vehicle via cameras along the road and found it stopped at the Goo Corporation warehouse. Fortunately, this was a business run by my husband and his elder brother, so I could access the internal cameras. Sitting in the speeding police car, I glued my eyes to the phone screen. Lynn had tied my son and Kevin together, blindfolded them, and was saying to Suzie, "People these days truly have poor taste. They clearly don't want such an excellent rich young lady, preferring these neighborhood girls instead. Since they don't know what's good for them, let's create an opportunity. Suzie, just break up this pair, and you'll be able to marry into a prestigious family. Hurry and act." Watching Suzie take hesitant steps toward the two tied boys, my fists involuntarily clenched. At that moment, my son Mark, still blindfolded, suddenly spoke up. "Wait a minute, Auntie. What is it?" Lynn asked impatiently. "Actually, I've only just realized how foolish I was before. Only now do I understand how important Suzie is to me. That night in the flower garden, Suzie leaned against me and talked softly. I didn't think anything of it then, but now, looking back, it feels incredibly precious." With that, my son subtly nudged Kevin with his elbow. Kevin immediately understood the hint. "I think so too. I've been interested in Suzie for a very long time. She's truly special, the most unique girl I've ever met. She always gives people a feeling of nobility, elegance, both close and distant. In short, now I've finally realized my heart's true feelings. Suzie is very important to me." It seemed these two kids were very smart. Sure enough, Lynn became excited upon hearing these words. "Really? You two finally see Suzie's good qualities." To make this drama even more realistic, my son actually started arguing with Kevin. "My son, Suzie and I grew up together since childhood. She naturally belongs to me. Kevin, you two are the sons of best friends. Outsiders won't accept that relationship. I am the most suitable person for Suzie." Seeing the scene of two rich young masters fighting over a lady from an idle drama playing out right before her eyes, Lynn couldn't stop smiling. "Oh, don't argue anymore, it's just because Suzie is too attractive." Just as Lynn was lost in her dream of her daughter being fought over by rich young masters, the police broke down the door. Lynn's beautiful dream was shattered by the cold feeling of handcuffs. I said coldly, "This time, don't expect to get off lightly. You've committed kidnapping and poisoning twice. The crimes are very serious." Lynn screamed hysterically. "I didn't kidnap them. They all admitted to liking Suzie. It was voluntary." My son, while untying Kevin, said sarcastically, "Auntie, do you believe even these words? If I say I'm the queen, do you believe that?" This time, Lynn had caused a major incident. There was no way she could escape by pretending to be crazy like before. Before being escorted into the police car, Lynn was still shouting at Suzie. "Suzie, you must find a rich, powerful man to rescue Mother." Suzie, indeed, tried her very best. She worked as a waitress at a high-end club, hoping to meet a rich man to change her fate, but her body collapsed first. The doctor said, due to long-term milk consumption instead of water and irregular eating habits, she developed kidney failure and a series of other complications. Lynn's husband had long since started a new family elsewhere. He fundamentally refused to invest in this ruined daughter and arranged for her to stay in a private nursing home, never bothering to visit. On the day university entrance exam results were announced, my son got into his dream university. Kevin's results, however, were severely affected by the incidents involving Lynn and Suzie. Just when I thought he would accept his fate, he proactively came to my office, firmly stating he wanted to retake the exams for a year. "Have you thought it through carefully?" I asked gently. He looked at me with a resolute gaze and nodded. "I can't let those unhappy experiences ruin my life. I want to start over and prove myself with excellent results. Seeing his resilient demeanor, I smiled with relief. That's wonderful. Your teacher supports you. Yes,